for the sermon.
Oh.
Who are these people?
Yes.
Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. And those who believe in me, even though they die, yet shall they live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Because I live, you shall live also. Thank you for being present today, coming together in this time. As we come together both in grief and in thanksgiving for the life of Manuela Dominguez-Pito, we are grateful for her life of faith. We are grateful that she has been a witness, a faithful witness to faith in Jesus Christ. That she has sought to serve not only through the Guatemala Project and other agencies, but through her family and her love of Juan and of Marcos and Jason. And so as we come together at this time, acknowledging our grief, but also acknowledging that God will have the last word. That word is the word of life. We come knowing that God meets us in our pain and meets us in our sorrow and meets us with hope and life, profound love and resurrection. The hymns that we will sing were requested by Juan, several of the scriptures as well. So this is a service again of thanksgiving for the life of Manuela. So I would like us to start with a word of prayer, and then we shall raise our voices in song. Oh God, you are the beginning and the end, the one who gives us life and gave us birth. And you are ever more ready to hear us than we are to pray. You know our needs before we ask, and our ignorance in asking. Give to us now your grace. As we shrink before the mystery of death, may we see the light of eternity. And speak to us once more your solemn message of life and of death. Help us to live as those who are prepared to die, and what our days here are accomplished. Enable us to die as those who go forth to live, so that living or dying, our life may be in you, and that nothing at all in life or death will be able to separate us from your great love for us. In Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I do want to say that my name is Jim Seaton. I'm a retired United Methodist clergy, and I feel like I'm in a meeting. I went to Guatemala in 1999, and we will have time to talk about our experiences in Guatemala, especially with Manuela and with Juan family, in a time of witness a little later in the service. But now I would invite us to stand and sing together hymn number 77, How Great Thou Art. afternoon from both the Old Testament and the New Testament. For in the Scriptures we find our story. Yes, it's God's story and God's story with humankind, but within that story we also find our own story of lostness, of foundness, of love, of hope, of loss, but most of all, of God's presence. First reading is from the prophet Isaiah, from the 41st chapter, verses 8 through 10 and verse 13. Words spoken by the prophet to people who had seen much destruction and loss. And in the midst of it, they asked, where is God? Where is God in the midst of this? And here is the word of the prophet, the word of God. But you, Israel, my servant Jacob, whom I have chosen, the offspring of Abraham, my friend, you whom I took from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest corner, saying to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and not cast you off. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. And I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. For I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, do not fear. I will help you.
Psalm of David, Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the refuge of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to take over my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. The war shall rise up against me, yet I will be confident. One thing I ask of the Lord that I will seek after, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me. I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry aloud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, do I seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You who have been my help. Do not cast me off. Do not forsake me, O God of my salvation. If my mother and father forsake me, the Lord will take me up. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Do not give me up to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me, and they are breathing out violence. I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord.
Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk in the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Psalms of assurance of God's care. Psalms of comfort in times of need. And now we turn to the New Testament, the last book of the Bible, Revelation, John. How do you describe something that is indescribable? You do it by symbols or by inference. You do it by trying to capture a vision. And here's what John has how God cares. Then I looked, and there was the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him were 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven make the sound like the sound of many waters, like the sound of thunder. And the voice I heard was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps. They sing a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures, and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. Then I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven with an eternal gospel, with good news to proclaim to those who live on earth, to every nation and tribe and language and people. He said in a loud voice, "Give awe to God, and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, and sea and springs of water." Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Write this, blessed are the dead, who from now on die in the Lord. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labors, for their deeds will follow them."
This is from the Gospel, Matthew 5, 1 through 12. It is the Sermon on the Mount, and we're doing this at the request of Juan. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. Blessed are those who recognize they are spiritually helpless. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Blessed are those who mourn. They will be comforted. Blessed are those who are gentle. They will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for God's approval. They will be satisfied. Blessed are those who show mercy. They will be treated mercifully. Blessed are those whose thoughts are pure. They will see God. Blessed are those who make peace. They will be called God's children. Blessed are those who are persecuted for doing what God approves of. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, lie, and say all kinds of evil things about you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because you have a great reward in heaven. The prophets who lived before you were persecuted in these ways. Thanks be to God.
In a few moments, we're going to have the opportunity to share some of our own witness to the life of Manuela. But I want to acknowledge that we certainly come with mixed feelings today. I would imagine that you and I would rather be anywhere else than here. We wish that Manuela could be with Juan. We wish that death did not have to happen. Not to us, not to anyone. And so we're kind of out of kilter. We grieve, for death is real. We grieve because it has come to Manuela, who was a vibrant part of God's creation. The separation of death is numbing and perplexing. I mean, we know it's going to happen to everyone, ourselves included. But when it does happen, we're never quite ready for it. It still leaves us like a blow to the solar plexus. But here we are, in that mixed place. And I don't know about you, but my heart and prayer often raise the question, why her? Why now? And I hope you know that these are questions that do not have adequate answers. Try as we might. Life is a precious gift from God. It comes with very few guarantees. You found that out yet? It's true. Very few guarantees. And yet, in the midst of our loss, we're here to give witness to one great, bold, hope-filled truth. And that is that nothing at all in life or death will be able to separate us from God's great love in Jesus Christ our Lord. Manuela knew this. She didn't just know it, she knew it here, and she lived it. And because she lived it, her life had a way about her. And because of her life, Juan knew what it was like to have a spouse, a mate, a wife. And Marcos and Jason knew what it was like to have a mother. Because of that love. Was it time enough? No. It never is. But thank God they have this. Thank God her faith has held her and will hold her and holds her still in the closeness of God's heart and love. That's a truth and a promise that holds each of us this day. And it's a promise that will hold Juan, Jason, Marcos as they travel through this valley of the shadow of death, of a wife and a mother. But this is a time of witness. And so we're invited to share our thankfulness to God for the grace that we received through Manuela. We don't just come to remember her. We come to gather her as part of the greater church. It's often called the church triumphant. Those who rest from their labors. She is still with us. She's among that great cloud of witnesses that cheers us on. So we come to share that faith. Share the faith that holds us together. And so I would invite you, I'm going to come around with the microphone, to share those signs of faith, hope, and love that you have received through Christ and through your relationship with Manuela, Juan, and family. We're live streaming this, so when you speak, let's speak to Juan and the boys, okay? Who wants to break the ice? Thanks.
Taiwan. This is Jan McNally, and my husband Bill is with me. We were there in July of 2014. We had a tremendous time. Your ministry there was just incredible. We just really loved you. And Manuela, she was just such an inspiration to the whole community. She was just so organized and just did everything for anybody. And when it needed to be done, both you as a couple just were awesome. I can't say enough about you guys. Thank you.
Juan, you called me grandmother. Marcus called me Pat. All the people in Guam, but that's because they just couldn't say Pat. Manuela was special to me because she was the life that brought life into you. From the time of your marriage, you changed. I watched it as often as I could go. She was special, she was sweet, she was caring. And you knew it, and you loved her for it. She was a good mother, and she still is a good mother. From where she is now, she will still be that good mother. And she will always be our friend. I remember one time when we were someplace and we didn't get back when she thought we were going to get back. And she was rather irritated. But she got over it very quickly when you said grandmother made me stay. So, I miss you. I love you. And I always will. And I will always remember Manuel. God bless you.
Hi, Juan and hola, Marcos y Jason. It's hard to say goodbye to such a special person. And I know I have no idea how hard it is for y'all. Manuela always amazed me at her ability to be so warm and loving, even though I was taking you away, Juan, so much of the time when I was there. Always accepted me with big hugs, always kind of in the background, making it all possible in some ways. We love you, and we love the boys, and if we could, well, we just have to live up to her. We love you.
Hello, dear Juan and Marcos and Jason. My favorite memory of Manuela is just the twinkle in her eye when she smiled. She just had such a beautiful smile. And she was quiet, and yet I can remember the one time she spoke at our farewell lunch, and she was so articulate and poised. She was just beautiful. And then the other thing that comes to me is when I was riding in the van next to her, and we were going and going and going in the van, and then we'd get out and walk to put in a stove. How did you do all that? Oh, I walked and I visited all these homes. And she had done all this work ahead of time, all by herself, just out and getting it all ready. She was just an amazing woman. And I can't imagine how you will miss her, but we will miss her, and we just share your pain. We share the joy of having known her, and we love you all.
I do want to let Juan know that on the back of your programs, there's blankness. But at the bottom of the front part, it says if you would like to write a note of blessing, love, and encouragement, I would invite you to do so, and we will get those to you, Juan and Marcos and Jason. Signs of our love and signs of our appreciation for who you are and for Manuela. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, sure. Just in time.
Hi, Juan. This is Mary Ann Jones from San Diego United Methodist Church. Our group only came once. It was back in January, February of 2014. But we are here today just because we remember what a special person Manuela was. And just a little memory would be of her there in the kitchen, but it was sort of like her spirit filled the place. I mean, you knew that she was a special person, even though sometimes she was in the background. And then my other memory is of having put in a stove, and there she was working with the family to make sure they knew how to take care of that stove and how to operate that stove. And so it was just wonderful to see her interaction. And so our thoughts and prayers are with you at this time.
We would invite you now to, we have a short video, but I think a meaningful one, certainly. So we're going to have them cue that up, and we'll play that, and it'll be a time for us to remember and give thanks for Manuela.
Juan, Marco, Jason, I love you. Let's be in a spirit of prayer together. God of all blessings, source of all life, giver of all mercy and grace, we thank you for the precious gift of life, for the breath that sustains life, for the food of this earth that nurtures life, for the love of family and friends which no amount of distance can separate, for the gift and honor of knowing Manuela Dominguez Toe, we give our humble thanks. God, we thank you for the mystery of creation, for the beauty that the eye can see, for the joy that the ear may hear, for the unknown that we cannot behold, filling the universe with wonder, for the expanse of space that draws us beyond the definitions of our very selves. We thank you for setting us in communities, for families who nurture our becoming, for friends who love us by choice, for companions at work who share our burdens and daily tasks, for strangers who welcome us in their midst, for people from other lands who call us to grow in understanding, for children who lighten our moments of joy, for newborns who offer us hope for the future. Loving Creator, we thank you for this day, for life and love, for the opportunity to be in relationship, for the knowledge that we do not walk alone, for your grace and compassion, and one more experience of your presence, for your promise to be with us, to be our God, and to give salvation. For these and all blessings, we give you thanks, eternal loving God. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. By Juan's request, let us stand and join in Amazing Grace, number 378.
Amen.
wants to get a word in. Kimberly always wanted to get the last word, and now...
Yes, and you can't get out of it, Juan. You were the first, I was one of the first people that met you at La Mesa United Methodist Church when you were much younger, and I hate to say this, but you were much thinner. I've always enjoyed knowing you. I met Manuela when you first knew her. She was a sweet person, but I can see and hear from all the people who have talked about her how much she has grown since I first knew her. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to know her better. And I think that you were thinking about building a house, and you had your first child. And I remember all of the good things that we did when I was with you. And I can't imagine a more wonderful person than you, and I'm sure Manuela. So I love you very much, and please come back to see us.
And now we're going to offer the benediction, so let's look that way towards the camera. And I will say the benediction, and then we're going to send a love to them, okay? So may the grace of God fill your hearts with the love and the peace of God in Jesus Christ. And may He be with you now and forever. And now on to you and Jason and Marcos, we love you.
We love you.
We love you.